Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of the All Dolphins podcast. I am Poupart. He is Omar, and we're here to talk about some Dolphin stuff, hence the name of the podcast. Omar, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Poop?
I'm fine. Kind of little disappointed that there wasn't a whole lot of news going on last week, which always makes the podcast more fun than when there's so many topics to discuss. Today, I think might be a good idea to just do like a state of the Dolphins as we stand right now after a week where, again, they didn't sign anybody this week. They didn't lose anybody this week. The last moves were re-signing Justin Bethel and losing John Jenkins, or seeing John Jenkins signed as a UFA with the Las Vegas Raiders this week. Man, and as I wrote, this is not unusual. There's usually a lull from the first week of free agency.
Absolutely.
It could last until the draft, or they could sign somebody next week.
I don't really think that they're going to sign anybody. I mean, anybody that they sign is really a lower tier guy. I was shocked that Andrew Van Ginkel got like $2.7 million. Not to say that he isn't worth $2.7 million, because I don't object to paying that for Andrew Van Ginkel. He's always got a knack for being around the ball, finding the ball. I remember they were paying Clayton Fejedelem, playing him like $2.7 million for 3 years, which I thought was just absolutely ridiculous. So I have no objections for Andrew Van Ginkel.
No, I hear you. No, and that was the as we discussed on the last podcast, that was the offseason of 2020 when the Dolphins signed like 10 players in one day, and it was like, yeah, you get a big deal, you get a big deal, you get a big deal, you get a big deal. And they kind of walked back from those deals on a lot of those players after 1 year, including Kyle Van Noy, who they outright cut, traded Shaq Lawson 1 year after sending him the big deal. So, no, I'm with you that if they make a move, it's going to be a lot lesser move for not a quote-unquote high-profile guy. But it's still the right tackle position that, to me, kind of screams for them.
Address me. Yes. No question.
Brandon Shell, George Fant, Billy Turner, Isaiah Wynn, Cameron Irving. I don't care. Bring in somebody to compete with Austin Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a rush, because it doesn't seem like those guys are getting signed, and I don't think they are in urgency to sign Brandon Shell back. And maybe, honestly, based on the way that they addressed the position last year with a guy out off the waiver wire, maybe they feel like they can wait. Who knows?
But again,
Austin Jackson. The one thing that the owners meeting made clear is that they still feel like there is some upside to Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg, and I don't absolutely disagree. Not to say that I'm an Austin Jackson fan, but I'm not necessarily.
You're not.
I'm not. But I didn't object to Austin Jackson based on what I saw last season. I objected to it based on what I saw the season before. Now, last season was better, but the sample size was small. And to be honest with you, I preferred Brandon Shell. Just
correct. But to me, jury's still out on Austin Jackson as the right tackle in this scheme, because I think you're looking at, again, he's not a left tackle. And then they tried him at guard in a different scheme that emphasized physicality a little bit more, and that's not his game. So, but it's pretty clear that they do want to see exhaust all possibilities. Where one from those two guys, they will have satisfied themselves that, hey, they were never going to pan out. We gave it our best shot. I think that's what we're trying to do. Except my only issue with that, and as you kind of referred to the column that you wrote for All Dolphins last week, this is a team that's in full win now, going for it right now mode. And can you afford to be like ultra patient with draft
with a fragile quarterback? When you say win now, make sure you also say with the fragile quarterback and a troublesome offensive line.
Well, with a quarterback on his rookie deal who is very, very cheap, who allows you to get some more expensive pieces around them, and that's always a big thing. And I mean, it's pretty clear the Dolphins are like in win now mode. They're in win now mode this year, next year, and it's like if they don't. I had somebody ask me in the mailbag like my thoughts on Chris Drew as a GM. Well, he's had some hits and misses.
Oh, that's a good topic there.
But then, if they don't win a playoff game in either of the next 2 years, then that's a fail. That's a
absolutely
fail, point blank.
The one thing that we've learned throughout history, and I think I learned this probably in the Jeff Ireland era, and you've been here for all of the eras, because I remember I was an intern in 1997 when you were covering the Dolphins. So you've been here for every single kind of era. Teams work, NFL teams used to work in 4-year windows. And I really do believe that window is shortening to 3 years. And right now, the Dolphins have begun that window in probably 2021. Yes, they've changed coaches, but the window continues, and the investment based on what they're paying, the 8 players, Emmanuel Ogbah, Tyreek Hill, Jerome Baker, Tua Tagovailoa, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah, Xavier Howard, based on what they're paying those players, which is eating up, I believe, 70-something% of the cap. You have to win, but you also have to build the team wisely. And it does take inexpensive players and young draft picks. You have to hit on them. I would argue to you that they're not necessarily always hitting on young draft picks, but then they do find young players who do quite well and have success in the league. So there is the right mix. If you have the quarterback, it all works. It takes you so far, and I do believe that they have what it takes to go far with Tua Tagovailoa. The question is, do you have the line to protect him? And the answer is maybe. We don't know. I'm actually a Robert Jones fan, so
yeah, me too.
I'm okay with Robert Jones playing left guard, Liam Eichenberg playing right tackle, if that's what we want to. That's what they want to do. No, no
not
shaking
a fan
the
of
head.
Eichenberg at tackle. No, I'm not a fan of it. The movement's not there enough for me.
You know what? I don't like when people are ready to throw in the towel on Liam Eichenberg, because there were games where he played next to Teron Armstead where I thought he was very good, where I thought he was competent and he wasn't asked to do a lot of heavy lifting. Now, yeah, he struggled without Teron Armstead, but I think any left tackle would struggle without Teron Armstead. Just me.
You mean left guard?
Left guard.
And the issues were in pass pro, and which is where you put him in space at right tackle, and I'm like thinking, yeah, no, thank you. Especially you really want Liam Eichenberg in pass pro protecting Tua's blind side. That's a no thank you for me.
That's fine. So
I'm willing to give him a full shot to win the left guard job. I think there's something there that I'm not willing to give up on him, like a lot of Dolphin fans are.
Yeah.
I don't want him anywhere near right tackle. And let me go back to a quick point about Chris Greer. To me, the starting point of this rebuild was the 2020 draft. And right now, as it stands right now, and for all the good work he did in 2021 with Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and Javon Holland, the 2020 had 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, 2 of whom right now are bust or on the way to bust with Austin Jackson and Noah. Robert Hunt's a good player. Raekwon Davis, I still need to see something. And then if Tua's injury issues pop up again where he can't be the long-term answer, I'm sorry, but that's 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, and you did very little with them. So I think Tua staying healthy and continuing the progress that he showed last year is basically, that's what Chris Greer's legacy as Dolphin GM very well could hinge on.
Absolutely. No question about it. And I think he's well aware. He's well aware of that, because you added Mike White as your quarterback. Obviously, you don't really care what happens. No offense to Mike White and Mike White fans.
No, and I said nothing happened at the owners' meetings. One thing that did happen, one comment that was made by Mike McDaniel, which really, I don't want to say shook me to my core, because that might be stretching a little bit. But when his first comment about Mike White is he's going to compete with Skylar Thompson.
That bothered you? That bothered you?
You have no idea how much that bothered me. I thought the idea was to get a clear upgrade over Skylar Thompson, who, by the way, my numbers could be wrong, was like 18 for 45 in the playoff game against Buffalo. I mean,
listen, me and you were there at training camp when Skylar Thompson started to trend upwards, and obviously it did not translate to the field. But we saw he played well in the exhibition season. He's a young quarterback. Yes, he was not Purdy, but he's a 7th-round pick. I knew that he was going to be the backup moving forward. I'm a little surprised that he didn't play a little bit better. But, when you get an expensive quarterback, you want to get a young, cheap quarterback. When you have a young quarterback that you're going to have to pay a lot of money to, the key is to have a young, cheap quarterback, which is why I felt like they probably should have drafted a guy with the 51st pick. Now, obviously, fans will be kind of irate if they ever did that. But then if it turns out to be Hawker and he steps in for Tua a year from now and is golden, then you wouldn't be crying about it. You wouldn't be complaining. It would be another Kirk Cousins situation. But we're comfortable with Mike White. I've always objected to and still oppose the mentality that a quarterback should never have competition. Or should never feel threatened. I think that that's the weakest mentality in all of sports, but the Dolphins are firm believers to it.
Yeah, except, I could throw it around and say, okay, if you're the Bengals, you want them to draft a quarterback to compete with Joe Burrow. If you're the Chargers, you want to bring in a quarterback to compete with Justin Herbert. If the Dolphins have established Tua's our guy, no ifs, ands, or buts, that's fine.
I don't care.
My only issue is Tua's a guy who's had injury issues, and are you ready to give up on the season if he gets hurt?
Clearly, they are.
Because Mike White may or may not be able to. I don't know. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it until I'm proven wrong by Mike White lighting it up for more than 1 week. I didn't get that move at all.
Hey, man, two. Give him 2 weeks.
No, correct. But again, to me, it doesn't jive with the approach that they have, that they're really, really going for it. Mike McDaniel himself said, at the owners' meetings, the goal is not to make the playoffs, to win a playoff game. Well, duh, which is something they haven't done since, let me check, December 30th, 2000. And they made the playoffs last year. They had a winning season the year before. They had a winning season in 2020. Anything short of a playoff win in 2023 is an unsuccessful failure of a season.
Absolutely.
With all the resources you've put in, and if it becomes, and the reason is, and I don't want to hear if the reason is because Tua got hurt and Mike White had to start the playoff game and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. That would be inexcusable to me, and I would bring it back to this very moment when I said they needed to go higher up for a backup quarterback.
Higher up meaning pay more money?
Bring in somebody with more.
Bring in Andy Dalton-esque?
Yeah, I have Andy Dalton, who I railed against for years and years when he was a starter around a great Cincinnati team. But as a backup, I think he can get it done a lot more than Mike White can get it done. And
I think my main objection to Mike White, and I don't have a problem with Mike White, as I said in a previous podcast, Mike White was part of my man crush list, which means I advocate for you. Now, I advocate for him to be a lower round draft pick who I felt could be a good backup for a while, maybe challenge for a starting spot to become a Kirk Cousins. That's okay. That's cool. But I don't necessarily feel like there's great upside there if, let's say, Tua gets hurt. But, hey, they play similar styles. Who knows? We never know what Mike White can do and what he can be. But I do agree with you. Tua goes down, season's done. Probably Greer's tenure's done. Like, we're starting this thing all over again, which Dolphin fans are accustomed to. So,
and to me, I look at the talent they've assembled on offense and defense. It shouldn't be Tua goes down and the season's over. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. It's not. And to me, again, the offense, and I've gotten killed for this many, many times, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again because that's how I feel. I'm not going to change. This offense to me is more about scheme and the stupid speed they have outside with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which is what makes this offense stand out.
And we disagree because you think that any quarterback can make this offense go, and I totally disagree.
No, I didn't say any quarterback. I said there are a lot of quarterbacks.
Okay, put a number on it.
15, 20.
They're like 7 elite quarterbacks in the league. You're saying that they're 8 more guys who were.
Where do you put Derek Carr, for example?
He's above. Derek Carr is, to me, the baseline. He's right above average quarterback. You
don't think Derek Carr would absolutely light it up with
Yes.
stuff. Okay, that's my point.
Okay, but
neither of us is saying Derek Carr is
name
elite.
another. I don't think Kyler Murray would do it.
No,
I don't think Ryan Tannehill would do it. But
Nope.
you're acting like Derek Carr. Derek Carr just got probably another $100 million deal. Like, he's not
Derek Carr is what? Derek Carr is what? A top 15 quarterback.
Yes, he's a top 15 quarterback.
That's what I said, 15, 16 quarterbacks.
Okay, but put some respect on Tua. Tua is a top 15 quarterback.
That's fine.
He is. Say Tua's a top 15 quarterback.
Tua is a top 15 quarterback. I have no problem saying that.
Okay. So is Ryan Tannehill a top 15 quarterback?
No.
Okay. All right. So is anything the Jets? No, the Jets. We can't.
Aaron Rodgers is a top 15 quarterback. Yes.
Yes.
And I know you poo-poo this idea of the Jets becoming a problem if Aaron Rodgers signs there.
I don't worry about Jets.
You're crazy. I think you are. By the way, Aaron Rodgers played with a bad thumb last year. He played with a bad attitude last year. This crap of I'm like, I don't like you guys. I don't like what you're doing for me. So I'm not going to work out with any of my receivers.
When is Aaron Rodgers not going to have a bad attitude? Do you think? I personally believe that Aaron Rodgers is in absolutely no rush for this trade to be consummated, because then the pressure's on him to participate in the offseason program. We all know he doesn't want to participate in the offseason program. So I think he is perfectly fine with this trade not being finalized, not being executed until maybe the week of training camp. You also don't think Aaron Rodgers is the kind of guy who likes to show how smart and how brilliant and all that he is, and that's going to be an opportunity to do that, to stick it to the Packers, to not fully committing to him for this year and next year, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's not giving you $50 million a year, not fully committing to you. This whole Aaron Rodgers is a victim of the Packers. Like, I don't buy none of that.
No, but what Aaron Rodgers wanted was, we love you, Aaron. We love you. We love you.
How many off seasons did he get that?
He wanted it even more. If you heard the Pat McAfee interview, he's kind of, let's say he's high maintenance a little bit.
Yeah, just a tad, just a tad. Yeah. I can't understand how people think this is going to end well for the Jets, and I'm glad they're going to do it, because I love for the Jets to be a plane crash, because they're just continuously making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. Not to say that the Dolphins have learned from their mistakes, because they haven't. And they're repeating the exact same cycle. And I know you were going to say that if Favre hadn't gotten injured, then they would have been successful and made it to the playoffs. Yeah, listen, you want to bank on a 40-year-old quarterback, go right ahead. But pretending that a 40-year-old quarterback isn't going to get injured and it's not going to impact his play. Okay, wait for that. Yeah, that's great proposition right there. That's a winning formula for success.
This is where I could be a smart ass. I'm not going to do it, but this is where, if I were to be a smart ass, somebody could say, well, how is that different than the Dolphins banking on Tua not being injured for the first time since 2018?
It's not. It's no different, except Tua performed way better than Aaron Rodgers last season.
That's fair. But, you also had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle around him, and Aaron Rodgers didn't, and Aaron Rodgers had a broken thumb. If you were going to say, under the same circumstances coming up in 2023, if you're really going to tell me that Tua is better than Aaron Rodgers, or would perform better than Aaron Rodgers, even at 39 years old or 40 years old, whatever, really?
Yes, I fully do believe that Tua is going to perform better than Aaron Rodgers, a healthy Tua. No question.
Okay, again,
it's his time.
If circumstances are the same around them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I age-wise, we're talking about a 22-year-old. How old is Tua? 24? 25?
How dare you not know that?
Yeah.
How dare you?
25-year-old Tua as opposed to a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely.
Okay.
Circumstance. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is the golden boy, great tools, but he's also got a poor attitude, an aging body, and really doesn't want to put in the work. Tua's got great attitude, a worker, Fragile body. Not even gonna deny that. But let's just actually say that this is the 1 year where he proved. I do believe this is going to be the 1 year that he proves that I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to be a quarterback that you can build around. Now, that's in my world. That's what Tua is. I've always viewed Tua as a quarterback that you build a franchise around. Now, you're not going to be able to build it around for 2 decades, maybe a decade, but I've always believed that he's a quarterback you're gonna build off. And the accuracy, the timing, the precision passing, the pocket presence. Don't deny that you don't see it. Don't deny that it doesn't contribute to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
I still need to see something when Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are not getting open 10 times a game, 20 yards downfield.
Bro, he won.
Which is what happened.
He had a winning season without Tyreek Hill. And
stop it with the record. Stop it with the record. I'm not entertaining this. We're going to have a conversation. It's going to bore the listeners
It was a garbage offense, garbage roster.
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Does that make him a good he had a great defense.
And Tua had a very, very good defense around him when he was producing that winning record. Tell me how many games the Dolphins. I mean, I cannot believe we're going to be doing this. Okay, anyway. Let me just go on record. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I am on record as saying that overemphasis on one-loss record for a quarterback is insane. I get it that it plays a part in evaluating a quarterback, but to immediately go to, well, look at his record. Look at his record. Look at his record. That's no.
It's to me, and obviously this is. It's people say that this is a flawed mentality for me. You know how I evaluate quarterbacks?
Go ahead.
Passer rating number 1, the old school passer rating, and win-loss record.
What's the old school passer rating? That's the one that's been in place forever and ever and ever. And that
yes, not the ESPN one.
Oh, not the ESPN thing. Okay. The only problem with the passer rating, and again, this is proven, but dude, Nick Foles led the NFL in passer rating 1 year, and he has I think it's the second highest total ever. Ryan Tannehill led the NFL in passer rating with, by the way, both of those had numbers higher than what Tua had last year.
Okay. And one won a Super Bowl and the other got his team to the AFC Championship game. Not saying I'm defending Ryan Tannehill, 2 straight years. That should be a good bar. That should be a good bar. Get your team to the AFC Championship game.
But okay, then it's based on what you're saying now. Ryan Tannehill is elite.
Hey,
or are you doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk?
The body of work for the 2 years that he played and did it without Derrick Henry. Let's put some respect on that, Ryan Tannehill.
No, he didn't.
No. Oh, the next year he did.
When did Derrick Henry ever go out for a long period of time?
Last year.
What kind of season did Ryan Tannehill have?
He led his team to the AFC Championship game.
Not last year. What are you talking about? Didn't make the playoffs last year. Dude, it was KC and Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game last year. Jackson in the AFC South.
Titans were in the playoffs.
They were not in the playoffs. They lost their last 7 games.
They won the AFC. No, the Titans won the AFC.
Omar.
Number one seed in the AFC.
That's 2 years ago. And then they lost in the first round of the playoffs against Cincinnati.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Come on now.
That's 2 years ago. I forgot. You're counting last year as 2022. My bad. Yeah, he was hurt. Like I'm talking about the year he was actually healthy.
Again, is Ryan Tannehill elite?
No, he's right under the bar for elite.
Okay, he had a passer rating at one point. I don't remember exactly what. Yeah, I think his first year in Tennessee.
And how does his team perform? How does his team perform without him? Not to say I'm defending Ryan Tannehill.
You mean last year? Well, he sucked, and when they had Malik Willis in the lineup, they sucked again. I mean, they could, but again, they had more man injuries than any other team in the NFL. Let's move on to a different topic because we've been on this for a while. We're actually close to running out of time here. Let's see. Defense. Are we okay with what they've done and what they have so far? Are we still thinking they're missing something? Where do you stand on that?
When you look at their books, considering every one of their defensive linemen will probably be up next year, including Emmanuel Ogbah, who is basically an option year. you're going to have to address that defensive line in this draft, or with free agents, younger developmental players. So, and I feel like they're probably still one linebacker away. I feel like one more linebacker, inside linebacker, can sort of help maybe elevate this team. Now, who it is, I have absolutely no idea.
Interesting. I reached out because I was asked about Miles Jack in a mailbag. I reached out to have some buddies in Pittsburgh, and it was unanimous. Like, no, don't go there. He's a Jack. He's become a Jack. And this was a guy who came into the NFL with like a whole lot of hype, but didn't quite pan
Sometimes the fire doesn't burn hot anymore, especially after they get some money. That's just the reality of it. I've been a major advocate for OJ Howard, and that was told to me. Like, hey, this guy is just cashing a check. And yeah, you got to avoid those types of players. Sometimes it's injury related. Sometimes it's just, motivation. Sometimes you're just cashing a check and you're good with the minimum.
No, and it's interesting. You mentioned the tight end position, and right now they're looking at, I checked the free agency list to see what's available at tight end. I mean, thanks.
It's very clear based on how they operated in the offseason and what they're doing. They're going to draft a young developmental tight end and see where that goes. Or they really love Tanner Conner.
Yeah.
And hey, who knows? But don't act like they can't go sign the guys that were on their roster last year, and keep it moving in terms of backup depth.
What do you mean, Adam Shaheen, or bring back Ethan Carter?
Yeah, Adam Shaheen. You act like Adam Shaheen and Ethan Carter are going to find work immediately. Like,
no, they're not. Especially since Adam Shaheen had that surgery for an ACL in the summer. Here's the thing, though, that
this summer,
yeah, he was traded to Houston. They had a deal in place. He took a physical with the Texans.
Yeah.
They discovered it's on ACL.
Yeah, that was, but
so the trade was rescinded.
Yes, I know that, but that was a long time ago.
Last summer.
Yeah, last summer. I thought you meant this summer. I was like, oh shoot.
We're in the spring. Why? How would you have had surgery already?
I'm from South Florida. I look at everything from like March to the summer.
That's a good point. It's tough. Because everything's the summer here.
Yes.
So August would have been like.
He should be healthy enough to be part of training camp.
7 months. No, for training camp, yes, but for the offseason program, he might be iffy because that starts like for teams with new coaches. Starts Monday.
I have absolutely no problem re-signing Adam Shaheen to a minimum deal and having him here as a training camp guy to prove otherwise, because he showed that he can do a little something.
Yeah, he's okay,
and he can help you on special teams.
Here's the other thing too and I think we should be cautious about overemphasizing the tight end position based on what the 49ers were doing in San Francisco, because they didn't have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Again, the Dolphin offense is wide receiver centric, as it should be.
I looked at where their targets were last year. They're not targeting the tight end for more than 80 snaps a season. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal what they do or who they add.
No, I think
that guy's got a block. That's pretty much the important thing.
Correct.
And I would lean more towards, and I know people disagree with me on this, but Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios would be my third option. That guy's run after catch ability.
You mean in the passing game?
Yes, in the passing game, okay. Not a tight end.
Which brings up something funny to me, because I saw there's an aggregator on Twitter whose name I won't mention, who just basically takes stuff from everybody. He does attribute, to his credit, comes up with somebody because somebody did like a position by position like breakout of everybody, and Dolphins would be willing to trade Cedric Wilson, and I'm thinking, you mean the guy with the $5 million guaranteed salary who caught 12 passes last year because he got passed up on the depth chart? No, really? They would really be willing to trade? They would beg somebody to trade for him. Come on.
Oh my God.
That is not news.
Yeah, no. I hear the Cowboys really like him, but not to pay him $7 million. I initially saw that signing and I thought, when they signed him, and I was like, ooh, that's a bad deal. And especially if he doesn't transcend to become a slot receiver. If he's a every down slot receiver, that's a good deal. If he's not, then it's a bad deal. I didn't see anything from training camp, and I know you were there and you saw the same thing. No, there's nothing there.
No, and here's the thing, and this is part of my philosophy in dealing with free agents. There's something to be said about catching a guy who's on the rise and you sign him at the right moment. Cedric Wilson, his first 3 years in Dallas, did nothing. Then they had a bunch of injuries at wide receiver in 2021. So he had more opportunities, put up good numbers.
Yeah.
But
it
then
wasn't like he had worked his way up the depth chart.
Correct. And then the Dolphins gave him 3 years for 21 mil. It's not like, I'll give you a good example. Like my second, I've done the top 10 free agent signings in history a couple of times. I've run that list. My number 1 is Brent Grimes, who I know you'll approve of. My number 2 is Randy Starks. And Randy Starks was a guy who was a good player.
Yeah.
But not, and he really became a stud with the Dolphins, but he had a good body of work. It wasn't
perfect signing.
He wasn't like he was like this, like
hold on. You didn't put Cameron Wake in there because Cameron Wake was a very traditional free agent.
It was as I indicated in the list, there was pure UFAs. Cameron Wake was a quote unquote street free agent because he came from the CFL. And here's the thing is the research involved. If I start going through every guy who's like could be a street free agent, that's way too much time more time than I have on my hands. So that's why I went the easy route with the UFAs. If we do that list, a couple of Hall of Famers from the 70s were guys who were signed off the street. I remember, like a Jim Langer or Bob Kuchenberg, one of those guys
from USFL days and all. Okay, I hear what you're saying.
So
protect yourself
here to do that. So I think that's about all the time that we have. We're going to wrap this up. And again, from my closing thought here is it very possibly could remain quiet for the next couple of weeks.
It will remain quiet. I think they're full-fledged draft mode. Yeah. And as they should be with their 4 picks. But I think they're also going to be a very high priority if you look at the roster, you can make this team. Anybody can make this team. So you're going to be a very high-profile free agent for high-profile team when it comes to signing undrafted free agents. And that's a great place to be.
No, and then a quick scheduling note for those who may or may not be aware, Dolphins start their offseason program on April 17th. The teams with new head coaches start today, April 3rd. So on that note, Omar, thanks as always.
Always a pleasure.